Hello there, woven web enthusiasts. Today we have a story with a twist in the way it's told here. In January one year, a married teacher began a sexual relationship with a man she had met. The first time they had sex was in his office. They had drinks, sex, and then exchanged stories of life, and this began a 6-month pattern of meeting every 2 weeks for sex and cocktails. In June, about 6 months later, they switched locations from his office and began meeting at a Ramada Inn. This continued until September, until she decided that she didn't want to see him any longer. In February, about 4 months later, she called him, and they met at the Ramada Inn again and picked up where they left off. They continued the sexual escapades every 2 weeks until March of the following year, so about 13 months. They took about a year and a half off and then resumed back in September of the following year when he told her that he had separated from his wife. They now began having sex in his apartment and occasionally at hotels. They now started going out for dinner, which was something they had never done previously. But it all ended in February when he told her he was going back to his wife. So a little summary, the periods of sex every 2 weeks began in January of 1976 and ended in February of 1979. Just another affair, right? Think again. The teacher, Miss Palmero, was the patient of Dr. John H. Brennan, M.D., a psychiatrist. Dr. Brennan had hospitalized Miss Palmero in 1971 for serious depression. Following her release, Dr. Brennan saw her every week to 10 days for a 2-year period from 1971 to around 1973. All these facts are documented in Palmero v. Brennan from the Massachusetts Appeals Court. The court writes that Miss Palmero viewed her sexual activity with the doctor as an affair, separate from the therapy aspect of their sessions. She thought of the defendant as like a god and that she must be very special if this tremendously great person wished to have sex with her. At the same time, she felt guilty because she had been raised to believe that it was improper to have sex outside of marriage. Accordingly, she spoke little of her personal relationship with the defendant other than to refer to it as an affair when describing it to her best friend in 1975 and thereafter to her sisters and a subsequent therapist. In an affidavit signed in June of 1992, Miss Palmero stated that in the course of her treatment by the doctor, she grew increasingly dependent upon him and developed a strong transference toward him, and that she did not realize that Dr. Brennan's treatment had been bad or had caused her harm until approximately 1989, when articles began appearing in the local newspapers regarding therapist-patient sexual misconduct. Miss Palmero sued the doctor in 1992, alleging that the defendant, a psychiatrist, mistreated her by maintaining a sexual relationship with her between 1975 and 1979. The suit was dismissed due to the statute of limitations claims by the doctor. The Massachusetts Board of Medicine apparently had no issue with this, as Dr. Brennan's license expired in 2013. It's possible he was reprimanded, but the record here does not show it. Read this real-life case in its entirety online at Palmero v. Brennan. Woven Web listeners, let us know what you think in the comments, and I appreciate you listening.